Alright, so we're checking out a new device on the channel today. This is the Microsoft Surface Duo, the original. And yes, this is a very old device. It came out back in 2020, about actually more than 5 years ago. This is a device that has kind of a cult following, and one that I have been trying to acquire for many years. It's been a while. It's been discontinued for many years. There was a time when this was when it discontinued. They kind of blew them out, or they sold them at a huge discount. I think some people were saying that they bought these for $300 for the base unit. Fortunately, I never had that opportunity. I did have to pick this up on Backmarket as obviously a used device. But finding a very good condition one, which is what this is, was quite challenging, as well as trying to find one that isn't locked to AT&T. A lot of these are locked to AT&T. You'll find them on Backmarket. A lot of the sellers out there on eBay will say that you can unlock them. But I found out the hard way that when I got my first one of these from Backmarket, it was locked to AT&T, and I tried to contact AT&T to unlock it and was unsuccessful. They said that I needed to provide proof of purchase, that I was the original owner, and all that was it was too much of a hassle to figure out how to unlock it, so I just returned it, which is the nice thing about Backmarket. You can return your device if you don't like it within 30 days. And just full disclosure here, I did acquire this from Backmarket using the credits from my wonderful viewers that have purchased used devices off of Backmarket. So if you use my code down in the description, you get $25 off of your purchase of whatever device you want. And in turn, I get a kickback of $25. And so that is how I acquired this unit. This is the second one I got from Backmarket, and not really going to show up in camera, but this is basically in pristine condition. No damage anywhere. No damage to the glass. It's basically in perfect condition, and I paid a pretty penny for this for sure. Definitely, I'm not going to tell you what I paid for it. It's just, it was a lot, and it was a ridiculous amount of money. These are really, really hard to find in very good condition. You can find these in broken condition on eBay. There's lots of listings on eBay where typically what you find is the back glass is cracked from being dropped, and or the front, or multiple panels of glass. It's an interesting design that they elected to go with Corning Gorilla Glass everywhere on both front and back and on the main displays. So while it feels amazing in the hand, because basically you're touching the screen and on the other side, but obviously it's just glass. It's very fragile. So a lot of these get dropped, and they end up on eBay. So what some people I've heard in the forums talking about doing is they buy multiple ones of broken ones off of eBay, and like maybe one's got a broken left panel and an intact right panel, and then they combine. Obviously they do Lego surgery. They take it all apart, and then they put together one that's actually working. Because finding replacement parts for these is pretty much impossible. If you know of a source, let me know, because I might be interested. I've actually for this guy, in order to keep this for a while, I plan to keep this for pretty much forever. I did buy a couple more of these off of eBay for pretty cheap, for just basically spare parts, like spare motherboard, spare battery, etc. They're just kind of sitting in a drawer right now that I may use at some point in the future. But right now, I'm babying this thing and trying to keep it as intact as possible. These are, again, very difficult to find in good condition. This is the version I have here is actually the one that is the most hard to find. It's the one with 256 gigabytes of storage. The vast majority are 128 gigabytes of storage, and this one's unlocked. So it's not locked to AT&T like a lot of them you'll find on eBay and Facebook Marketplace, etc. So keep that in mind. If you are looking for this particular version, unlocked and 256 gigabytes of storage, is extremely hard to find, but I was able to find one on Backmarket. I'll link one that what they have on Backmarket right now. Their inventory changes all the time. I pretty much had a an alert set up where I was constantly pinging the Backmarket site to find this, and I did find this. I've been actually found this a while back, and I've been using it for some time, and it's been working great. Now, obviously, this is not for everybody. There's a lot of reviews on this on YouTube already. I mainly like the fact that it's a 2-panel phone. So basically, you can use one or the other, or you can completely flip it over. And this is the thing you can't do with other foldable phones, and just use the one panel. You can't flip it over like this, and it'll ask you to switch by just double tapping, and then it'll switch it over to the other side. And then you can also rotate the screen, etc. The screen rotation is a little slow on this device. They did an update from Android 10 to Android 12, which fixed a lot of the issues, but it's not perfect. But you can see, if you want to save battery, which I do sometimes, I just use it as a single panel, like you would use any regular smartphone. You can switch it over, double tap, and then flip it over like this. But the main reason to get this and use this is to use both screens. And obviously you can do the same thing with like a Pixel Fold or any Galaxy Z Fold that's out there. This is obviously a different sort of form factor. It's called a Passport form factor. Each of these screens are a 4:3 format. And obviously, like trying to play video across the screens with this giant gap in the middle doesn't make much sense. But what does make sense is using it for reading ebooks. And this is what I mainly do it for, or use this for, is like basically you can bring up like this is this Google Play Books, and then you can span it across both screens like this, and you can see you get basically a book format like this, and you can just page through the book like this very easily with the animations. This is probably the most I guess important or most useful use case, at least for me, is the reading of ebooks. But you can also just swipe over, put over on one panel here, and you can bring up a different app over here on the left. So for example, here's a web browser, and you can scroll over here on one side, and then do some of the activity on the other side. On this side over here, that's it's kind of like, basically it's like having a dual monitor on a PC. So you can have one activity going on over here and one over here, and they're not going to interrupt each other. But again, here's probably my other most used use case here, is watching a video here over on the left panel, and then on the right panel here I will be scrolling through some website or web page or whatever, doing some other activity. And of course you can combine these in a wide variety of ways depending upon what your situation is or what kind of apps you use. Now you can of course stretch the video across like so and go full screen. And as I mentioned before, watching a video like this is not ideal because you have that nice gap there in the middle, although it is certainly totally possible. There's a lot of people out there to say that they can watch videos like this. I personally cannot. Probably the other thing you can do is just rotate the display like this, and instead of going full screen, you just throw the video up on top over here, and then you could open up another app down here, watch your video up here, and then do some activity down here. But in this format here, we're using two screens. In the vertical format, you can span your web browser across the screen, or both screens like this, and scroll. And that is not, the gap there is obviously not as distracting. So you can see how this would work. This is another way that you can use the device. And also when you're using it like this, you can bring up the keyboard on the bottom here, like so. Nice little span keyboard, so you can do your messaging, whatever, and then all this entire top screen over here will be available instead of being covered by the keyboard. So this is another reason why people happen to like this device. Oh, and by the way, I am eyeing this new Ayanio, I don't even know how to pronounce that. I'm totally butchering it. Ayanio Pocket Play. This is a new Android phone that's going to be coming out that kind of looks like that Xperia like a PlayStation Portable with a slide-up screen. It's got like these analog sticks and a D-pad for gaming. Obviously, this is for gaming, but look how small that is. That's pretty. It looks like a regular phone, just a little bit thicker with your gaming controller underneath. So if you are interested in a review of this one, let me know. I'm considering purchasing this one myself, so let me know down in the comments. But yeah, anyway, I think it's a pretty interesting and very unique device. And is it something that you'd want to buy in 2026? Not really sure. It's not going to be for everybody. It's a very niche device, kind of has a cult following. It's really going to be for a very specific type of person that wants to use it in a very specific way. It's got a lot of downsides, of course. I encourage you to watch all the reviews out there that are already out there. Of course, you know, the upsides are only going to be relevant for people that find it useful for them particularly. But anyway, again, I want to thank all my viewers that did buy a lot of used phones off the back market. Trust me, they bought a ton of them because this cost a fortune. And I still have lots of credit over on back market, so I'm looking for other suggestions on sort of cult following type of devices out there that are really hard to get, because I want to pick up maybe a few more of these in sort of this sort of category. You know, those that, you know, devices that kind of flopped. You know, they don't appeal to the mass market, but they have a very nice cult following. If you have any suggestions on what could be out there for a future video that I can pick up on back market, let me know in the comments below. That'll do it for this video. I'll talk to you guys in the next one.